अथ प्रथमोऽध्यायः अर्जुन उवाच निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव न च श्रेयोऽनुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च किं नो राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन वा येषामर्थे काङ्क्षितं नः राज्यं भोगाः सुखानि च त इमे व्यस्थिता युद्धे प्राणां त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्याः पितरः पुत्राः तथैव च पितामहाः मातुलाः श्वशुराः पौत्राः शालाः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान्न हन्तुमिच्छामि घ्नतोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य हेतुः किं नु मही कृते निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्रान्न का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन पापमेवाश्रये देस्मान् हत्वैतानाततायिनः तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुं धार्तराष्ट्रान् स्वबन्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः स्याम माधव यद्यप्येते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकं कथं न ज्ञेयमस्याभिः पापात्स्मान्निर्विवर्तितुं कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं प्रपश्य द्विभजनार्दन कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्मः सनातनः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मोऽभिभवत्युत.
All right. Let's start with that. We touched on some of the points in the last session. So here there is you can see the meltdown that is happening of Arjuna. And so he's telling what is going to be the result of this war. You know, I don't see I see a big mistake here, you know. So what are we fighting for? We are fighting for, you know, kingdom. We are fighting for victory. This is, you know, how Arjuna is presenting, you know. So his enthusiasm is going down. And he's seeing all viparita lakshana. Viparita lakshana means all the lakshana, all the markings or the what do you call it? Lakshana is
Signs.
the signs. All the signs are telling him totally opposite. So he says it's viparitani, you know, lakshana. Once again. So and he doesn't see anything good coming out of it. Na shreyaha. There is no you know, there's no goodness in what we are doing. And so somebody may ask, why do you say that? You know, what kind of lakshana do you see? He says, aham anupashyami. This is all so visible, you know. I can see that. All he was seeing his own condition, where he had described it earlier, that my hands are now, you know, I'm shivering and my hands can't hold on to the bow, and I am having feverish feeling. All these symptoms are of his anxiety, his moha, you know. So, but he was putting it as a sign for the lakshana, for what he was talking about. And he says, what good can be coming out of killing your own swajana? Swajana means my own people. Why would I want to do that? You know, I don't see anything good in that, which is true. You know, in a normal situation, that is exactly the case. But here it is not a normal situation. So And then he says, then what are the symptoms, Drashtaphalam. Drashtaphalam is what I am seeing now. Na kangshe vijayam Krishna. Means why get into a war? And I don't want to get any victory, What is the point here? Victory is not my goal anyway, I don't want victory. I don't want vijayam. And na rajyam, na sukhi nacha. Matlab, I don't want, with this bloodshed, how can I be happy with it, And he has all valid points. So it's not like what he is saying is wrong. It is just that situation demands something else, And so, Kim no Rajyen Govinda, Kim bhai, what is the point of living with this kind of a guilt? Even if we win, I will always feel guilty that I killed my own people. So I don't see this as a good thing. So the question is, why is it that his thinking is wrong? Though all his points are correct, he thinks nothing good is going to come out of it. Okay. There is no Shreya, there is no, because he doesn't want it for that. So the point is, his mistake is that he was thinking the war is for kingdom, the war is for victory, the war is for pleasures. But he forgot that this is not how it all started. So, which is basically saying the war is because of dharma only. The war is because the so it is not important what is the outcome of the war. That is not the important point here. The point is the intent behind this war. Intent behind of this war was not just taking control of things. The war was for fighting for their own rights. So, and the Kauravas had been given enough chances. They were given enough time to think and rethink and rethink, and they had tried every possible way of fixing that situation. But something that rightfully belonged to them was being snatched away, from these guys. So that was the thing that Arjuna was not thinking. He is thinking of himself only. He's thinking it is my problem, my victory, my everything was his own. So he was in that me and mine mode. My swajana, my, everything was about me and mine here. So he forgot that it is not a personal battle. So that is one big flaw in his thinking. It is not a personal battle. It is he is basically fighting for his king. He is fighting on behalf of the king. He is fighting for behalf of his people. And he was fighting it as his duty. So he does not bring up the duty. He does not bring up his own people, for whom he is fighting. Because personal thing don't matter when you are in such a situation, because you have to, what we say is, for when you are in a bigger group, then your personal things have no relevance at all. At that point, you have to think of the nation. You have to think of your, the army that has standing behind you. So, and he was not thinking about it. So anyway, it gets, clarified by Bhagwan later on, because he's going to decimate every single point here, So let's go to the next one. He says that why are we fighting? Let me just go to the Sanskrit verse of it. He says, Yesha marte kangshatim na rajyam bhoga sukhani cha. Basically, he's repeating himself here. See, this for those who seek this rajya, bhoga, the sukha, what is the point of all that? I don't see anything that that is going to bring me any peace. So even if you say that, let me rephrase that. Even if they have come here for the war, that means they have decided not to worry about their life or about their wealth. At this point they are ready to kill or die. So I don't see why we have to stoop down to their level. If they are there, Bhagwan must have said, if you don't want to kill them, that's fine, but they are ready to kill you. You will be dead, soon. He says, but you know what is the point if even if I die, it doesn't matter. So now he clarifies it further here. He says that even if I kill, they are my own people. He's emphasizing on the swajana part. Swajan means my own people. And who are these people? He says, Acharya Pitara Pautraha Tathaiva cha Pitamaha. So these are my Acharya, like Dronacharya, Pitaraha, or the fathers of our own family, the Putraha, our sons. This was said earlier also by Sanjay, that he is not seeing the enemy, he is only seeing his own people there. And Pitamaha, the grandsire, our Bhishma Pitama, Matula is the uncles and father-in-laws, brother-in-laws, and the other relatives, Etan hantum na ichhami. I don't have a desire to kill them. He's repeating himself again, he doesn't want to kill them. Or gnotapi madhusudana. Even if they want to kill me, I don't want to kill them. Let them kill me. And he's using the word here, Madhusudana. Madhusudana is, there were two Rakshasas, Madhu and Kaitav. So Bhagwan, what they had done was, the story is from Puranas, where these two stole the Vedas and they hid them somewhere. So Bhagwan went, killed them, and brought the Vedas back. Basically, what it means is that the people who have stolen the Vedas doesn't mean that they stole the copy of the scriptures and took somewhere. It means that they were misusing the knowledge. So Bhagwan had to punish them for, using it for the purpose that it was not intended for, So here he says, use the word Madhusudana. He says, you killed these Rakshasas, but here we are talking about my grandfather. I am talking about my teacher, my uncle. They are not demons. Those were demons. You killed them. That is good thing. But these are my people. How can I kill them? This is so. And the other reason to say that, you are called Madhusudana because you killed these Rakshasas. People will say, hey, there goes Drona Sudana, or here goes Bhishma Sudana, the one who has killed the Bhishma, or the one who has killed Drona. And he says, Api Trailokasya Rajasya. Even if I get the Rajya of all the three worlds, of Swarga, Dharti, and Patal, if I get all the Rajas, to me that is worthless, Atho kimna mahi krite. So what are you talking about, this piddly little Hastinapur? Do I care about it? So he's trying to convince Bhagwan or justify his act of not getting involved in this war. So, okay, now he says that if we kill them, what will happen? We will incur sin. Now, निहत्य धार्त राष्ट्रान का प्रीति स्वज जनार्दन पाप मेवा श्रेयेद देस्याम हत्वे आतातायिनः. Now this is very interesting. He is calling them atatai. You know what atatai is? Atatai is like a felon, somebody who has done a felony, and that felony which is punishable by death. So that is the definition of atatai. There is a verse for defining what atatai is, but in very simple terms, these are the 6 things that defines a atatai. What are the things? The one who burns somebody else's property out of vengeance or whatever reason, burning somebody else's property, then poisoning someone, aggression with a weapon. So that means you are killing somebody who doesn't have a weapon. So this is not a war. This is not an act of like a duel, but it is somebody that, killing with a weapon without giving other person a chance, or cheats someone's wealth, cheat somebody's property, a land or building or whatever property, and forcefully take somebody else's woman. So all the 6 are punishable by death. And they had done all of these things. They had tried to burn them, Lakshagraha. They had tried to poison Bhima. They had tried to kill also. There were times where they tried to kill one of the Pandavas, and they had taken their wealth, by cheating. They had taken their property and land by cheating, and they had tried to take their women also, so that all those things are punishable by death. But here he says, what, though they are atatai, but they are still our own. How people look at, जब अपना कोई खराब काम करता है तो कहता है यार बच्चा है ना, that's okay. But that is the problem with the moha. Moha is where your mind has lost the viveka. That means it is not thinking correctly. It is ready to basically makes you forget what your duty is. So that is the atatai. It says, even though they are atatai, I understand, but they are still our own. Why do you want to kill them? Here I wanted to bring one point, that killing is a sin, and we know that the samanya dharma is that we should follow adharma, or we should, what do you call it? That under no circumstances shall we kill, period. There is no question about it. Ahimsa paramo dharmo, that's given in our text. So that is not a problem. But there is something called Vishesha Dharma. In a situation where there is an exception, that is where we need to decide that, okay, the Samanya Dharma won't work, we have to go to Vishesha Dharma. And this happens everywhere. even in the traffic, even in the when we are driving, suppose there are a highway, there are two, one side going this way, 3 lanes, and 3 ways coming this way. And then there is construction going on. They say, okay, these 3 lanes going south are closed. So what we'll do is we will divide these 3 lanes going north, and the third lane will be going south. Now people will say, okay, but I am used to driving on the leftmost lane. No, at that point it is Vishesha Dharma, which is that you follow the traffic that is required at that time in that situation. So, or in other words, we can say that sometime person has to sacrifice his own personal joys and glories for a higher good. Like if suppose I'm going for a movie and then I realize, oh, my neighbor actually needs my help because he's sick or whatever, I need to take him to hospital. Then at that point, you have to drop your joys for something that is for a higher cause. So, and so kind of, so basically the Vishesha Dharma takes precedence over the Samanya Dharma, always. And then there is Niti Shastra, which is even higher than that. That means we have to understand what is the ethical and moral reasons for doing something. So if we are, so it also is as important. So even if there is a law that is actually taking us from ethical and moral grounds, we have to stick to that niti. So that's higher than the Vishesha Dharma, and higher than that Vishesha Dharma is Moksha Dharma, which means even if I am following the moral and ethical, the Moksha Dharma takes me even beyond that. So just to, simplify this whole thought process, that he is still stuck with the Samanya Dharma. All his logic, all his arguments are relating to what he has studied in his kindergarten, which says, oh, thou shalt not kill, or, ahimsa parmo dharma. And he's trying to decide if this is the right thing or not the right thing, Bhagwan is saying, beta, this is a different situation. You are not in the Samanya, you are not in kindergarten, you are in a postgraduate class now. So you have to think differently. Yeah. So, and there is he's also trying to say this is a papa. So what is the definition of papa? According to our scriptures, what I am not supposed to do, but I do, that is papa. And the other way around, what I am supposed to do and I don't do is also papa. This very simple definition. Does it all make sense? I can repeat it. So if I am not supposed to do something, but I still do it, or if I am supposed to do it, but I totally avoid it, then I am incurring sin. Yes.
But in the creation of karma, where there's cause and effect, even if one has a right motivation, taking a life would have a certain karmic future consequence, isn't it?
Depends. So a normal student, a fifth grade student will ask, is killing wrong? The teacher will say yes in all circumstances. But if a professional comes to him and says, is killing wrong? Then he would ask several questions. He will say, who is it that you are killing, and why are you killing, and who, what is the reason behind this killing? So once that is clarified, then it is not considered a sin. You understand? So though in Samanya Dharma it is a sin, but in a Vishesha Dharma, suppose if there is a mass murderer going on, on a killing spree with a AK-47, and he's already done a lot of harm, do you think at that time this question will arise whether I should or should not kill? If I am the, say, I
Yeah,
am
no, I understand. I understand. And
designated person for this, I am the protector of that place, then I have to kill that guy, because I have no choice. If that guy, if you don't kill him, he will kill many others. The harm will be much more.
No, true, true. In, for instance, the Ukraine war going on too, and many justifiable kind of situations. However, even if it's a right action, for instance, the Buddha in a previous lifetime, he was on a ship or something to save 500 lives. He had to kill someone to prevent something. But isn't there a, even with the right action, as long as you're taking a life, isn't there a automatic karmic consequence? Meaning it can't be a subjective, I think this is the right action. Meaning the law of karma has to be objective. I mean, it can't
Law of
depend on.
karma is not okay. We are going to go through the karma, the whole thing in second chapter, but understand that it is not a straightforward yes or no. Suppose I go to a doctor, right? And at that point, suppose I have a problem with my foot. He says the choice is either I have to cut your foot or this gangrene will go to your whole body. And I say, okay, please, I want to live. So let this leg go, So sometimes these tough decisions have to be made. So do you think the doctor has done a sin by, cutting his leg? Would
No,
he get punished for it somewhere?
no.
No, the punishment is right in the action itself. If that action is the righteous cause, then there is no sin in it. It's not as, like killing and then you get hell. It is not like that. You have to see much. There is a subtler way of looking at things. That's the only way you can decide if it is the right thing or not. Here he is thinking of Samanya Dharma. He wants to run away from this. So does it make sense?
No, I think it's very clear that from a Dharma point of view, he was a Kshatriya, Arjuna had to do this thing. I would just, maybe we can come back to this in second
And
chapter.
he was not doing it randomly, that, okay, you know what, since I am Kshatriya, let me kill people. He was there for a very organized war, where he was playing a certain role as a leader of the army. He was one of the key people in the army, and he had to, see what his dharma is as a Kshatriya, as a king, as a warrior. At that time, he doesn't have to see his swajana. This is what delusion is all about. See, sometimes we say, what, Bhagavad Gita was written in a war situation, but we are not in a war situation. Why should it be applicable to me? That question can come. What should be the answer? Maybe that's a good question to think about in a breakout.
Yeah.
Why don't we take a 5-minute breakout and then think about that? What did I say? That what is the that why is this applicable to me? Let's think about it and then regroup in another. Maybe we'll have a smaller group. Maybe 3 groups.
We may need
Yeah,
more than
please
we may need
join your
more than
rooms.
5 minutes if it's just 3 groups. So
Yeah. All right. So we have. I hope the others join us soon. Hello, Vijaya.
Hello, Rajiv ji.
Hello.
Hello.
So Guruji didn't come to our class today.
Oh. All right. So, so who wants to present from each group? I think I was in the third group. Ankushji will summarize.
What we discussed is the situation that is faced by Arjuna is something we face in our everyday lives as we go about, earning a living, caring for our family. These are challenges where we have to fight for our right, whether it is at work or, relationships, both at work and otherwise. And a lot of the stresses we face are on account of the moha that we carry with ourselves in our lives. And that moha is about either material objects, or it is about our personal relationships, our clinging to our family and their welfare as opposed to the larger good of the society. And over time, if we have to get rid of these sorrows that we face, we would have to imbibe the learnings that Lord Krishna will be giving to Arjuna, which is to get rid of this moha, which is the cause of all misery and sorrow. Another point that was raised in our group was about the thought that comes to our mind when we face a certain situation or sorrow as to why this is happening to me. What is the significance of this incidence in my life at this point in time? And Raviji also mentioned about the fact that no matter how many times you read the Gita, every time a shloka will give you a different perspective, a different meaning based on the situation in life you are at, or it just has so many meanings and connotations. Raviji, anything to add?
There was one that
I'm okay.
Ravi Bhai Sahib had said about that war is going on inside our head.
Correct, all the time. It may not mean a physical war, but it's a constant struggle of thoughts and conflicts that is going on that we have to deal with.
Yeah, we had 2 Ravis in the group.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what about group 1 or group 2? Anyone? शेखर जी,
रूपला जी से रूपला जी थी हमारे ग्रुप में. रूपला जी will summarize very nicely.
You are muted.
Is also there actually. Deepak, you want to take it?
I'll just so we went through the thought process of Arjuna, and the question that was asked is if war was the right path, then why was Bhagwan convincing, kind of trying to tell him to go to the war? And I think the answer we kind of discussed is that it is the internal moh that we have to come over in order to make the right decisions. That was one of the aspects we were trying to highlight.
Okay.
Yeah, so we also talked about dvandva that is constantly going on between us. So there's always two aspects of everything, every situation. So whether this to choose this one or that one. So that dvandva we are always fighting. So there's always a war going on inside, like I think some of the other groups also talked about. And so it's not, so Gita is very applicable to us also, even though we are not in any physical war
war.
situation. So it's very, very applicable. And delusion to us happens because of the dvandva we have always. And exact same mental situation Arjuna was feeling at the battlefield on the grounds. The delusion arising out of that dvandva he was facing, and we're facing the same thing. So that's what. So Gita is very applicable to us as well.
Right. Anybody else has any thoughts?
I was just asking, you know, comes across as less selfish. Arjuna, he was willing to let go of their own insults and their own losses. And he was looking out for his big, extended family and friends, and maybe even the countrymen, they all would be killed in the war. So he did not see the point. I'm thinking maybe it's bigger moha, but it was better moha than caring for his own siblings. Of course, dharma may stand as a better thing to fight for, but I'm just wondering, is the cost? I would have liked him or Krishna does say that you fight for the dharma, but moha somehow feels like he was less selfish, I feel here. Less attached to his own, but he was looking out for more people. It's just my thought.
No, that's a good thought. So Arjuna is not a bad person. Arjuna is the great guy. He is the hero of this episode. He's hero of this book. So he cannot be wrong. Point is, it was not a choice between right and wrong. Choice was the subtle right or the gross right, So he had to choose what was the point is, we have to see his intent for doing all this. Why is he lamenting so much here? Is it because he suddenly has developed a vairagya? Or is it because he wants to stay in status quo? See, sometimes when we are faced with a bigger challenge and we have two choices, either to run away from it, which is basically we want to justify the status quo, which is, a defeat basically, or we want to stand up to something higher. So he was trying to justify by giving reasoning that was not true, that was not logically fitting in this situation. You see what I'm saying? Though he was right, if it was a normal situation, yes, all his points are 100% correct, and we would say he is the real gentleman. But point is, he is not in a normal situation. So we didn't want him to stay in status quo, which is basically taking a defeatist attitude. See, what happens is, when we are faced with a situation, or what is it called, the flee or flight or fright.
Flight and fright.
Yes,
fight,
right.
flight and fright.
Correct. So we wanted him to fight. We want this hero to stand up for the right dharma that he's here for. We don't want him to take a flight or to run away from the situation. What he's trying to do is he's trying to convince Bhagwan, or in other ways, he's trying to convince himself.
Yes.
That's what he's
100%.
trying to do. He's trying to convince himself that this is wrong. I should just not get involved, because now we'll just conclude with the 37th verse.
Actually, Rajiv, one point in our group that was raised in group 1 is that, see, if fighting the war was the right action, then one can say Arjun was having doubts and things like that. The question was raised whether the Pandavas initiating the war itself was the right action, meaning, suppose you look at the consequences of them not initiating the war. For instance, Duryodhana was a fairly okay king, right? Even when the Pandavas were away, he had an ulterior motive, but nevertheless. So if you look at the actual consequences, was initiating the war the right action? If it was, then we can say, okay, he was hesitant and this and that, and he should practice non-attachment and so on. But was it the right dharmic choice?
You tell me.
So they made several attempts to avoid the war. In fact, they were willing to settle for 5 villages. Right? Even then, the Kauravas didn't agree.
So the question in our group
Yeah,
basically
go ahead,
was
Anurag.
about the good king, like who was the
Mhm.
better king at the end of the day. So by making the entire population of Hastinapur and everyone to wage a war at the end of the day for 5 brothers, was that the better decision? Or letting Duryodhan continue to rule? So what was the breaking point? Why they chose that instance to lose their cool? I mean, they've been already going through all the atrocities forever. And after they made that decision, why are they now second guessing? And by
Correct.
they, I mean Arjun.
Yeah, so we had a long discussion on this. So it's just these 5 brothers were going through the pain. Why do they have to drag all the armies, the whole kingdom into a war?
Because you're talking about wipe out of all Kshatriyas.
Yes, right.
Okay, so is that the greater good?
Okay, I have a question here. So Krishna was with him, right? His whole army, which is called the Narayani Sena, which was one Akshauhini Sena, was on the other side.
Other
He was
side.
going to kill his own people also. He
Yes.
didn't have a remorse. He didn't have a thought about it. Why did Arjuna have this meltdown? The meltdown was not because of that he was not prepared. He had prepared himself for last several years. They had been thinking and thinking and thinking, and they had given, ample choices. War is not a good thing, but point is, there comes a point where there is no other choice left. So when that happened, the choice was to get into the war. To get into the war means you have to face the huge army, and just 5 brothers won't be able to take care of that. So they have to, basically seek alliances. So,
but Rajiv, another perspective can be that Lord Krishna, being omniscient, he knew that this was the right course of action. Meaning, let's say, suppose they had said, okay, we don't want the 5 villages. Lord Krishna knew that as a result, if the war was not fought, there will be more adharma, more negative consequence in the future. But Arjun, not being omniscient like that, not being Lord Krishna, he could only see the immediate effect of what his actions were going to be, right? So his doubt was coming from that place. And that also applies to us. Sometimes we use our thinking, intellect, buddhi to try to make the right decision, but we don't have that intuitive, deeper sense of wisdom or Krishna consciousness that can tell us the right choice in a certain situation.
the point is our thought process of Samanya Dharma, or are we thinking of higher Dharma, or which is, more moral, ethical, and which is for a higher good? So was it for a higher good? See, these are the atatais. They are the actually felons. They are the ones who had, by force, by cheating, they had acquired their property, their kingdom. So it was their righteous duty to fight. And to run away from that fight is not a Kshatriya Dharma,
So, sorry. No,
No, no,
I
no.
had it in the chat earlier. Now we have Krishna and we are looking at it at that particular situation retrospectively. We know what Krishna is guiding us is a bigger dharma and greater good to do. But jihadis, for example, will also be thinking in the same terms, in that what they are doing is for the greater good, that they are standing for some values, right? So how do we not accept that?
Well,
Meaning,
Krishna is not with them. If Krishna was with them, I would accept that. But no. The point is, if somebody had done harm to them, if we had done harm to the jihadis or to whatever, and, we feel that, okay, we are there to, and it is not a war. The jihadis are not in a war. They attack individually, right? It is not like a
They are not
battlefield.
armies. They are not directly fighting. They are not
They're
armies.
not
They're
directly
attacking
fighting.
civilians.
They are just destroying things. They are more like a atatai. I would put them in that category. But you know what? I cannot make a judgment call here, of what
I
a
think the
jihadi mindset is.
wrong, but I was just trying to be devil's advocate, trying to figure out the other perspective. That's all.
You
Yeah.
know what?
No, but Sunila,
I
ji,
don't know.
I was asking the same thing earlier. Excuse me, Rajiv. Ki this question of right choice, right action, it cannot be subjective based on what we think. I mean, meaning, as you said, there are certain situations where, based on one belief system, depending on one's religion or other beliefs, euthanasia and so many other things, that one may agree or not agree, right? So this first question is, what is the right dharmic choice? But that's like a very subtle discussion. But Rajiv, I agree with you and about the teaching Bhagavad Gita. There are many situations where our moh and attachment prevents us from doing what is clearly right. I mean, there's so many clear causes in the world right now that I don't stand for because I'm more attached to my comfort and don't want to take the risk of taking people on who are doing when the January 6th thing happened in the US, the election, so many situations are there where some people rose to the occasion and others did not, So many, it's very clear, even though they're gray situations. Yeah.
I just want to add.
Okay, please go ahead.
1 second, sir.
Yeah.
That the point that Sushila
By the
ma'am
way,
was.
1 second, Anurag. So
Yes, sir.
just let me introduce Anurag. Anurag Nair, Dr. Anurag Nair, sorry. He's joined us. He's a good friend of ours. And so go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much. So to the point Sushila ma'am was making earlier, whether Arjun, when he was saying that he doesn't want to fight, was that a higher calling or that the gentleman's route? And you made the point of Kshatriya Dharma, like that was what he had to follow and to that thing. But to my point of view, that would have been a more self-centered choice if he didn't participate, because he was the backbone of the Pandava army.
Yeah.
So him choosing not to fight, the entire army would have collapsed there and then. And so he couldn't take a defeatist attitude. He of all the people.
Correct.
That's my point.
There is one more angle to this whole discussion, and that is, what did Bhagwan want?
Bhagwan will
some
tell.
point in
Next 17 chapters is all Bhagwan.
Yeah, so but at some point in the whole incident, Bhagwan said, things will happen the way I want it to happen. And nobody has any will to either deviate it or do anything. That was his right down line.
Well,
and then he says, you can...
he says, anyway, we'll come to that also.
That also, right.
Where he says, now we'll go through this. First, he's putting it as a, he's calling it his moral duty to not fight. Here Arjuna is where he'll wrap up in the next verse. And then he talks about, he says, okay, maybe I'm not convincing Bhagwan enough. And then he'll tell him about why it is adharma to fight. So we will go through that, and then we will see how Bhagwan replies to him. So
yeah, I have a comment, just maybe nonsense, but what God wants is not to just tell us what to do. He wants us to work hard, figure it out, and then when we are really confused, only then he'll come and tell us what to do. And I guess then we are lucky. If we don't hear and if we miss that bus, we are in trouble.
Actually, you know what? Bhagwan didn't tell him anything. Bhagwan was totally quiet. Till he says, I have come in your, in your sharan now. I am begging you to guide me. That's when Bhagwan spoke. We don't do that. We think we are smart enough to make all our choices. We are not looking for what is the right thing to do, because we know everything. So Bhagwan says, okay, you do your whatever you think is right. Khelo. He has given us this playground to play.
He has to some akal and vivek too.
He has given akal and vivek too. So the vivek is what is Bhagwan's voice, you know. Bhagwan is telling us to use vivek, vivek with lot of vairagya. All right. I think we have crossed our time.
Yes, sir.
But, we will wrap up. We'll start from 37, where he wraps up his arguments here. And then he talks about the dharmic duties, that what will happen when we follow through with this war. He'll explain to Bhagwan कि आप देख नहीं रहे हो, अहम पश्यामी, मैं देख रहा हूँ, मेरे को सब नजर आ रहा है कि इससे क्या होने वाला है. So let's do that on Tuesday. I hope we can wrap it up on Tuesday. So then we will go to the second chapter. Om. Om Sarves. Okay.
Purnamada.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right. We'll see you all on Tuesday.
Thank
Have
you
a
all.
great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Rajiv, ये विवेक की बात जो आपने की ना सबसे आखिर में, तो I was thinking of the following thing कि I've been thinking about this quite a bit actually कि we take things personally. We think we have a personal intelligence, personal this, personal that. But actually, as it is said is in various Hindu scriptures, Tattva Bodh and others, ki there are deities that govern everything, our senses and so on. Unke anugrah se hi sara, it's not a personal thing, whatever